And to give you some ideas on implementation, vendor A, I'm going to call vendor A and vendor B. Vendor A had the implementation cost around $11 million. The vendor B had it at 20.4 million. Then when you look at migration, we had vendor A at 1.6 million and the vendor B at 1 million. In licensing, we see that vendor A is actually much more expensive than vendor B, differently from the other items. Vendor A licensing was around 4 million, while vendor B was 600,000. So it's a major discrepancy there. And then in maintenance, vendor A was cheaper again with 670,000 versus 1.5 million from vendor B. So despite the fact that in licensing, vendor A was much more expensive, when you look at the total of those, the sum of those four components in a 5-year TCO, you had vendor A at 17.3 million, while vendor B was at 23.5. So, that's the interesting aspect. So you need to make sure that you consider the right components and you understand the differences. And also it may allow the insurance company to understand the gaps where they may be able to negotiate or not. I think we can bring up now the second case from Saudi Arabia. In this case, it was a greenfield initiative, illustrating a little bit of what I said, that some vendors, some insurance company tends to say, okay, I need to keep operating. I cannot afford the system migration right now. So I'm going to do that gradually. I'm going to select a new core system. I'm going to implement that. But as for new lines of business, and I will gradually migrate the existing business into the new system eventually. And this was the case for this one. So in this case, they had 4 vendors and the comparison of the TCO, and those varied from 3.5 million to 10 million. So again, a big difference, right? So just licensing alone, if we look just at that component, the cheapest vendor was licensing it at 1.7 million and the most expensive one at 6.6 million. And implementation, it ranged everywhere from 0.8 million to 2.7 million. So here again, you see how that varies a lot. And I think that's what makes this process of system selection so interesting. And I'm sure we're going to be able to address that in the future.